Happy 2016, everyone. It's the start of a new year, so I figured I should basically, usher out the old year with it. My top 10 movies of 2015. So, after seeing Hateful Eight, I had to adjust the list a little bit. So, yeah, spoiler, Hateful Eight's on the list. But let's just dive right into it. Now, at number 10, I put Man from U.N.C.L.E. Now, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was a movie that I did not watch the original TV series for. I had heard a little bit about it, but I never actually watched the original TV series for. But going into it, I'm like, okay, I like Armie Hammer, with a Lone Ranger notwithstanding. I like Henry Cavill, Vikander, Alicia Vikander. I like this whole 60s swinging Cold War era kind of stuff. So, let's give it a shot. And I go in, and it's easily one of the funnest times I've had at the movies this year. Say what you will about all the Marvel stuff, which all the Marvel stuff is fine. All the superhero stuff is entertaining. Okay, not all the superhero stuff is entertaining here, but it's generally entertaining stuff. But this was what I kind of wanted to have a spy throw. And as much as I love Kingsman, which sadly I don't believe I put on this list. We'll have to see if I'm just rereading it to make sure I put it on the list. But as much as I loved Kingsman, this felt like a spy thriller from the decades. It had a great tone, atmosphere, sense of humor. The action was on par. The banter between Cavill and Armie Hammer alone is worth it. He's just this very suave, could get away with murder kind of guy. Just Dean Martin-ish is like, that's very interesting. Yeah. And the soundtrack of this, I like the sound of funky music. Yeah, I just dug it. I dug it all. First time I saw the trailer, I'm like, this is going to be fun. And I get out of there, I'm like, this is some of the most fun I've had at the theaters this year. It sucks this didn't do well, though. I think it made just over $100 million on a $75 million budget. I think that was the budget. One second, I'm going to just check for the box office here. I'm not going to do this for all of them, but for this one, I know this more or less bombed, unfortunately. I mean, it still made money, but at the same time, it did not do as well as they had hoped, unfortunately. Let's see now. Man from U.N.C.L.E. Let's see. Man from U.N.C.L.E. There we go. So, worldwide, it made $109 million, which, for a lot of movies, would be good. Unfortunately, it was made on a $79 million budget. Now, you factor in that a theater takes a third of the cut, then it's now down to $70 million, give or take. Then you add marketing in. It lost some money, unfortunately. To be fair, though, I think it's a lot because it went up against Straight Outta Compton, its opening weekend, and it was just still going up against it. Had it not been going up against Straight Outta Compton, I think this probably would have made at least $50 more million minimum. So it's unfortunate. It was one of my favorite movies of the year for obvious reasons. But that being said, it can't beat out my number 9 for spy movies, which is Kingsman: The Secret Service. This was a movie that I knew nothing about going into, apart from it's kind of this fun movie about spies. It's kind of like James Bond in the modern day with all this weird tech and stuff. I found out later it was based off a graphic comic or graphic novel. And I'm like, okay, so that's interesting. And then I get into it, and you're in for a special movie when the opening is a helicopter going after a building in the desert to Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. So, you're for something special at that moment. So, and then it goes to show that you should never judge an actor by the type of work he normally does. Colin Firth was a completely believable action star. Absolutely. Samuel Jackson, one of the best villains of the year, I think. Just said, humanity is a virus, and I am the cure. And then, what was his name? He played Eggy. Oh, God, give me one again. I'm kind of going to be going back from IMDb because I didn't expect me to be doing this, but I should probably just have this, Kingsman. Let's see now. Kingsman. Anyway, the guy who plays Eggy. There he is. Kingsman. And not Mark Strong, though Mark Strong was great also. You'd expect Mark Strong to be the more action-oriented of the two of them, but no, he's basically the Q, who does some cool moments. Where was he? Terrorist, Little Eggsy. Alex Nikolvo, I believe it is. Yep, Alex Nikolvo. My God, the kid's got a future. Kid is great in that movie. Absolutely. He's got charm, he's got charisma, he can be an action star if he needs to be. If you've seen that trailer for Eddie the Eagle, he's got some chops to him. This kid's gonna be around for a while. There are people saying that he's being eyed to play the young Han Solo in the Han Solo prequel coming out. I could see that, absolutely. He actually seems like a creditable actor for that, a believable one for that. So, yeah, I mean, Kingsman Secret Service, and again, soundtrack, amazing. Fight sequence choreographed to Freebird. What's not to love? So now we go to number 8 then. Now, number 8 was one that I caught on a whim, and I was amazed how good this movie was. I knew it was going to be a good movie based off the topic and the cast going around it, but I didn't realize it'd be this good. Was Spotlight, dealing the Catholic Church scandal that happened between, well, technically it started, let's see, when did Spotlight, let's say when it started. But, I mean, it was starting, like, in the early 90s, or early 70s, but it didn't really come to fruition until, was it like the mid to late 90s? And then 9/11 happened, so it got to, hold on. In 2001, so basically the early 2000s is when it actually started happening. Then 9/11 happened, and we had to backtrail it for a little bit, or backpedal the story for a little bit for obvious reasons. But they did not stop. This is the team that broke the story, would not stop with the story, knew that it had to be brought to light, and basically they said that after they brought the story out, dozens of victims started calling in, hundreds of them started calling in. They had like over 600 minimum. Some of the heads of the Catholic Church that were involved in those areas and in the scandal resigned their positions. It was amazing what these people did. And they captured this. There was not one single standout performance in this movie. This is not like, for me, like The Big Short, where Steve Carell, I think, was the standout of all of them. No, every one of these people is a significant, integral part of this story. Michael Keaton's as good as we've ever seen him. Mark Ruffalo is astounding. I'm trying to remember some of the other actors and actresses we have in this movie. I just had the IMDb page up. Hold on. Actually, I had the Wikipedia page. Okay, there we go. So, Mark Ruffalo, and then Rachel McAdams. That was another one. Liv Schreider's great. John Slater. All these people were fantastic, and it really is a testament that there's no one actor carrying the whole film, carrying these people on the film. There is a group effort for this movie. This movie does not work without a single one of them. But it does not work, what's the best way to put this? It does not work without a single one of them, and I don't think it could work without a single one of them. Now, that's not to say you couldn't maybe have a different actor. It might not be as good or better. It's all relative. Point is, though, this movie strives on this ensemble cast and the subject matter. They did not sugarcoat any of the subject matter in this, not whatsoever. I mean, sugarcoating maybe not be the right word. No, you know what is the right word. They didn't sugarcoat. They just didn't go in depth. This guy didn't describe exactly what the sexual. I mean, one guy describes giving a blowjob to a priest and then intercourse. He doesn't explain the process of the intercourse. He did this to me and this to me and this to me. No, it just. You see the trauma on these victims' faces. It's horrifying, and it's moving and intense. Ironically enough, I was on a date with a girl when I saw this, and we were both very into it. We were kind of just Mess was like, "Oh my God, it's a good movie." Yeah, it is a good movie. so it was like weird date movie, but hey, whatever. So, yeah, I mean. I can't say enough about this. I will say it is funny as a New Englander to see the product placement for Dunkin' Donuts all over in there. So, yeah. So that was number 8. Now, number 7 was Steven Spielberg, man. It was Bridge of Spies. Now, I came out of this movie. It should be noted, by the way, that I've ranked a lot of these movies. When I went down the list of the movies I saw this year, which is basically me going back to my YouTube feed and figuring out, okay, where did I start seeing movies this year? Where did I end seeing movies this year? How many of these movies did I give 10s? Does that mean they belong on a list? Not every movie I gave a 10 is on the list, and not every movie on this list got a 10. It's because it's not based on just how good I think the movie was. It's how much enjoyment I got out of the movie. The whole laundry list of things go into this list for obvious reasons. Same with the worst of lists. So, that being said, Bridge of Spies came in at number 7, and it's Steven Spielberg. It's Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise. That's a match made in heaven, and it's a fantastic movie. It is, again, based off true events. There was a lot of those this year, a lot of true event movies this year. And a lot of them are really good. A lot of them are very damn good. That being said, I mean, some of them weren't amazing. I mean, Into the RC I thought was really good, but I didn't think it was deserving to be put on the list. And that's not on the list this year. But Bridges Spies, that's a true story. That's a true story that when I saw the movie and I did my review for it, I labeled it saying that you don't need to throw a punch or have a weapon to be a badass. This guy was a badass in his own right. This guy is the kind of man who went into Soviet Russia, went into Berlin during the Soviet era, during the Cold War, more or less, and risked death, more or less, to save not just one of their captured spies, and to save the life of a man who was caught by us, who may or may not have been a spy, but who he, because of what he stood for this man. He said it gave him a fair trial, but he also believed in the Constitution and believed what America should stand for. And not only saved them, but saved this kid who got caught in the fray anyway. And he risked it all just for these two people. It shows the kind of courage someone can have to stand for what is right. What we should stand for as people. Tom Hanks was nothing less but brilliant. Some of the visuals are magnificent. The performances, again, are fantastic. Particularly from him, and again, I'm going to be just reversing the IMDb page. Now I'm going to Bridges Spies. What was the actor who played the captured Soviet spy, Bridges Spies? Whoop. I wrote Birds by mistake. Bridges Spies. There we go. I'm trying to remember, what was the name of the actor who played the Soviet spy who was caught? It was not Bosco, James, Mary Donovan, Roger Duvall. Come on, where are you? Oh, there we go, Rudolph Abel, played by Mark Rylance. Oh man, he was phenomenal. I loved him. I loved him, I think, more than I loved Tom Hanks. Because he's just this kind of quiet, a polite, gentle guy who may or may not have been a spy. And he's just, all of a sudden, like, you're not worried at all? Would it help? I love that repeated line. It's great. And then we learn, when his family learns, when everyone basically learns what he does, because for a long time they're shaming him for defending this guy. When everyone actually learns what he does, and they learned it by him coming home, basically bringing the marmalade he said he'd bring, apologizing against the wrong marmalade, going to his room, passing out on his bed, and then they hear on the TV that he did this, and his wife just sees him pass on the bed, you see with a smile. Everyone reads about this guy in the paper, and they just give him this like smile, like, you did the right thing. And then we learn he was used to negotiate the prisoner release in Cuba with Fidel. And he went in there to save like 1,000 people or so. He walked out with near 10,000 people. Badass. There's no other way you can say it. That is a badass thing to do. As Mark put it for D&D turns, he maxed out his chutzpah and intelligence score. And his charisma. It was amazing. I loved the movie. I did. So that was number 7. Now number 6, Hateful Eight. This is a movie that I adored. Now, I had problems with it. I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. I gave it like an 8.5, I think. Because it is long. It is very long. In fact, the version I saw is not even the longest version. And it does actually fall apart a bit in the third. Not to a point where I dislike the movie. Because I watched Brad Jones's on Stone Gremlin Studio Productions, Stone Gremlin Productions. You can check out their YouTube channel. It's a cinema snob. You know who he is, more than likely. And he made a good point that once we get to the third act, it does kind of contradict a lot of stuff, and it makes you like, wait, I liked it better when I thought it was this. And I had to rethink it. I'm like, now that he brings it up, yeah, that does kind of just throw some monkey wrenches in the shit. But I'm sorry, doesn't mean it's not good scenes, doesn't mean it's not good acting, doesn't mean it's not still entertaining. And it is. It's a fun whodunit kind of western done by Quentin Tarantino. It's dialogue, some of the best acting we've seen Sam Jackson do. I love Kurt Russell, man, the Hangman. Tim Roth is great. I love Tim Roth. He's probably my second favorite character. Third. I take it back, third, because Walton Goggins. I loved Walton Goggins. I think he actually became my second favorite character by the end of it. But Sam Jackson was still my favorite character throughout the whole thing. And we just see all these horrible in their own right individuals dealing with each other and dealing with these with this issue going on. And it becomes, when people start dying, it is a whodunit. It is very much a whodunit. So, there's not much to say. It's Quentin Tarantino. By the way, Mark made a good point in the review that I don't know, actually, did he bring it up in the review? Maybe he just brought it up outside that. He brought it up outside that Quentin Tarantino is the kind of guy that we wouldn't be surprised if they were really filming in that kind of conditions, that it was just that horrible of weather. He just, fuck it, going to Wyoming, you're going in the blizzard right now. Because, my God, how they got that, I don't know. It was amazing how they shot this. This was beautifully shot. Oh, man. This is gorgeous shooting, gorgeous shots, just beautiful. So, Hateful Eight, if you have any inclinations to see it, I highly recommend going to see it. So now we're into my top 5. Now, top 5, starting with number 5, is Mr. Holmes. Ian McKellen as a aging 93-year-old Sherlock Holmes, I believe. He's suffering from the signs of senility, and he's trying to recall the case that he didn't. Spoiler, he did solve the case. It just, bad things happened after the case as a ramifications of him solving it. And, yeah, it's some of the best acting I've ever seen Ian McKellen do. I would be shocked to not know he's at least up for a nomination for, assuming they go maybe a 10, it's the best 10 pictures. It's 5 performances. Okay, that might be pushing it. I won't be shocked if he gets a Best Actor nomination. If he wins it, that's another thing entirely. But still, we're seeing a man nearing the end of his life, more than likely, just coming to terms with a lot of stuff, going about his daily routine, and it's the pressures of what his fading mind and fading light means to him, especially with this case that he can't recall. And it turns, all of his work has been embellished by Watson, apparently, and who I'm guessing took the surname Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. That was his pen name in this. So, because we know Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote the Sherlock Holmes books, but in this, it's Watson who wrote the books. So I'm guessing he took the name. Was under the pen name Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. That's what happened. And we see that there's only like 3 main actors. There is Ian McKellen. There is the boy and the mother who both work there, and the mother's undereducated. She wants to provide for her kid. She doesn't want her kid to get too attached to Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes is getting attached to the kid, and he's vice versa. And the kid is a better reader than his mom, and he's more educated than his mom in many ways. So it's interesting to see how that dynamic worked, and the way it plays off is beautifully done. At one point, we see something bad happens to one of the characters, and we see the heartbreak that actually goes on Sherlock Holmes' face about really what's going on, and then it all comes again to a happy ending in the end. Again, also another movie that's beautifully, gorgeously shot, but it's also intimate in how it's working, particularly the one scene where we see Sherlock Holmes. The kid asks him to basically deduce where his mom's been, and Sherlock Holmes still does it. He's still got it, basically. He's suffering from senility, but he's still got it. He's still Sherlock Holmes. And it's beautiful. I love the fact that it's beautifully splicing between 3 different points in time. One is the present where we're at. One is about 3 months prior to the present where he's going to look for something. And then the final one is splicing back to the case that he couldn't remember about 30 years prior. It was great. It was beautifully done. I loved it. I loved it to death. It's very also heartwarming too. It's a very heartwarming story. We see when good things happen to these people, eventually we're generally happy that good things have happened for them. And when bad things have happened, we're generally upset that bad things have happened. So yeah, I gotta give this one my number 5 spot. Now we're into the 4s, baby. Oh man, this is getting close. My number 4, and one I hope gets some recognition at the Oscars, at least for some things. Ex Machina. I loved this movie. I loved it to death. Ex Machina was one of my favorite movies of the year this year. It's an intimate, it's almost gothic in a way, telling of what is AI, what is the limitations of AI, what is too far with AI, and it's really only 3 actors, 4 actors technically, but only the real 3 characters, and it's basically, can we prove she's self-aware? Can we prove she's intelligent enough to make these decisions? And Oscar Isaac, my God, he's like he's a villainous non-villain antagonist. He's not really a villain, but he's an antagonist, but at the same time he's not. He's just a scientist, dude. But the way he comes off, he could play. This is why I'm looking forward to him playing Apocalypse this year, because you look at this guy and you're like, oh man, this guy's a fucking creeper. And it's awesome. Man, there's just an impromptu disco moment with him. It's hilarious. Just, what are you doing? Right now I'm cutting a rug. Domhnall Gleeson, man. Standout performance his stand-up performance this year. I mean, he's in Star Wars, but his stand-up performance is in Ex Machina this year. There's no question about that. About this guy who, how can he judge? How do you know who's lying, who isn't? How can he judge what's real, what's not? One point, there's a scene where he cuts his own wrist to be sure that he's not an android, he's not a synthetic organism, and there's very few things in this world that make me uneasy. Watching someone slice their wrist, let's be clear, not this way. This way, go not across the street, not across the corner, up the street. Seeing someone do that. Oh, man, that's hard for me to watch. I don't know what it is. I can almost feel it on my skin when I see it. He does this, and he just kind of punches the camera in the window mirror, and just, oh, man. Man. But then, of course, the standout performance in that is Alicia Vikander. Oh, my God. Ava is one of the best movie characters I've ever seen. Well, maybe not ever seen, but really, she is one of the best characters I've seen in a long, long time. She really is. Because we don't know what her we know what her motivation is. She wants freedom. But how it ends, first off, watch my review. Watch my review. I don't think, actually, I'm not certain I gave it away in the review, but watch my review in the playlist section. You'll know what I'm talking about. But holy, oh god, oh man, it's impressive. It's an impressive movie. The effects, by the way, while not extreme, are seamless. You believe this is a robotic organism or a robotic being. You don't believe this a synthetic being. There we go. You don't believe this is a person. You believe this is. You believe it's a person, but at the same time, you don't. It's so seamlessly done. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I love the film. It's dark. It's intimate. It makes you question things. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year. Coming in at number 3, us saving Matt Damon again. The Martian. The Martian was one of the best movies I've seen this year by far. I put it on number 3 for some reason. One, it is probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's funny. It's suspenseful. Now, granted, we all see where it's going. Assuming if you have read the book, you know what's going to happen. But if you haven't, we still kind of guess they were going to save him. It's how they saved him, and then the moment when he's about to be saved, all the weight of everything he's gone through just goes on his face in a moment. He's starting to just bawl. He's just like, oh my god, I'm actually being saved. Hooray! But it's a funny movie too. It's hilarious actually. It's like Castaway, but in space really. And he's got technology to interact with things. He's just like, I'm going to die if I have to listen to any more of this disco music. He's like, okay, we're going to just make water, hydrogen, oxygen. Here we go. So I forgot to compensate for the other oxygen basically from me. So as soon as my ears stop ringing, I'm going to try this again. Or, eating a potato. Just like, I'm just going to... normally I would do this, but seeing as, there's no one here to stop me, I'm going to have a little crushed Vicodin with my potato. It's been 10 days since I ran out of ketchup. Man, it was a fun time. I loved it to death. And it's visually, again, beautiful. The acting from everyone. Matt Damon is the standout. But also, let's not get away from TGOL, Ejiofor, or Jeff Daniels, man. Jeff Daniels is not a villain. He's not an antagonist. But he has to look at it from a business sense. He has to think, can we afford to be able to save this one man? Knowing he's alive. He's still doing the best he can, but when the means that he knows how to do it. And it's great, the moral, ethical, and financial dilemmas that these guys have to go through. And when things go bad, you're just generally oh, shit. It's heartbreaking. But another reason it's number 3 is because Ridley Scott. Let's be clear. Personally, I've liked some of his other work. I've liked Prometheus, recognizing he has problems. Like Exodus, recognizing he has problems. Universally speaking, a lot of his recent movies have not been well received. So, yeah. But now we have a movie that is directed by Ridley Scott that is universally loved. I mean, obviously there's some people who don't like it. It's just going to happen. But universally loved by the majority of people. He's back, I mean, not back on top, but he's definitely now gotten some leeway back on his belt. We're now like, okay, we're Scott. We know you can still do good. Thank God for that. Now keep bringing it. Make Alien Covenant still good, please. Oh, man, I worry about that movie. I do. But, I mean, there's nothing to say. The Martian, man. Number 2. Now we're in the top 3. Top 3, baby. Number 2 is Creed. This is a movie I'm hearing great things about this, but it's Rocky 7. I was fine with us ending on a Rocky 6. Rocky 6 I thought was great. I don't think I actually saw Rocky 6 in the theater. No, I didn't see that in theater. I rented that, and I'm like, oh my god, why didn't I see this in the theater? It was great. But they were like, okay, so what's Rocky 7 going to bring us? And I gotta say, man, fuck Fantastic Four. This is the Michael B. Jordan movie that we need. This is the Michael B. Jordan that we know. We know what he's capable of. He is a force of nature in this movie, first and foremost, man. He embodies both Rocky, he embodies Apollo Creed, and he embodies his own character. He wants to make his own name, but at the same time, he's afraid of embracing the name Creed. So when it comes time for him to finally embrace it, after all the hardship we see him go through, because he is a fighter. He has been in and out of juvie and stuff for a long time in his life. We finally see him embrace it, him own it. It is an awesome moment when he gets into that ring. Just like, yeah! Boom. Just, yeah. When the fight's in this, when you see them get hit, we actually see them get hit. From what I understand, the scene where he gets his ass knocked out on the floor, I think in the final fight, he actually got his ass knocked out on the floor by mistake by the guy. For real. I don't know if that was intended. But also Stallone. This is, I think, the best acting we've ever seen Stallone do. At least since the early days, Rocky and Rocky 2. I mean, Rambo's actually got some good acting for what it's worth. The first one, mind you. The first one. But no, this is, you gotta remember, we all look at Stallone a lot as action. Most people should forget that, yeah, I mean, they know Rocky, but they forget that Rocky was one of really his first roles. And he knocked it out of the park. He is actually a phenomenal dramatic actor. You give Stallone the right formula, he is a phenomenal dramatic actor. And this shows there. There is a scene where he is mourning, lamenting about just being here alone, about why he can't fight anymore. And then between him and Jordan, they go back and forth about what's happening, and he basically Jordan basically said, no, if I fight, you fight. That's the way it works. I'm here for you every day. You're not alone. And so if I fight, you fight. And it's just this, there's no other way. It's what Rocky 5 was supposed to be. There's no other way to put it. This is what Rocky 5 was supposed to be. A retired Stallone takes on a young apprentice to basically not even take up the mantle, but, to come out and swing. And it should have been Apollo Creed's kid in Rocky 5, not fucking Tommy Gunn. God almighty, Rocky 5 is a train wreck. Got some good moments, but a train wreck. That'll be another series of reviews entirely. The Rocky movies, all of them. Though Creed notwithstanding. Because I already got a review for Creed up, which you can see. Again, all movies are in the playlist below. I don't bother doing, I don't do the little bubbles links because, first off, I haven't quite adapted the way to do. I know you can do it, and I know how to kind of do it, but I can't figure it out properly because I'm so tech illiterate. So for the most part, I'm just going to say, just check out my playlist, and you'll be able, the movie playlist, and you'll be able to find the reviews. As well as a bunch of other reviews, too. By all means, check out all my videos repeatedly so I can get more subscribers. I appreciate it. Yes, but I appreciate everyone who subscribes. I ended the year at 76 subscribers, which when I started about 2 years ago, I had 2. So, or when me and Mark started it, but I've been helming the site for a lot of time now. So for that to be the case, I think all of you have subscribed. I really do. And here's hoping to get more in the future. But that being said, now Creed, and then oh god, I can't remember the girl's name, but his love interest. She's got a great story too. She's the singer. She's a performer with a congenital hearing defect. She's going to lose her hearing eventually. But she just wants to embrace life and everything like that, and everything that goes with it until it happens. She wants to live life to the fullest up until then. So Absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? You don't let it defeat you. You just do what you can and just embrace the life you have, and you just enjoy life. And I believed the chemistry between the two of them. I did absolutely. It wasn't one of the just forced into romances. It really did work because, like any couple, they had their ups, they had their downs, but in the end, they still cared very much for each other, and they still ended up there. So, yeah, that's Creed. It's my number 2. One of the best movies I've seen in a while. So, just to recap, going down the list. Number 10 was Man from U.N.C.L.E. Number 9 was Kingsman. Number 7 was Number 8 was Spotlight. Number 7 was Bridge of Spies. Number 6 was Hateful Eight. 5 was Mr. Holmes. 4 was Ex Machina. 3 was The Martian. 2 was Creed. And the number 1 movie of the year for me is, it might be a cop-out, but fuck all of you.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
It's The Force Awakens. It is. It is a bit of a cop-out. I'm sorry, but first, I think I ended up giving the movie like an 8.5 out of 10. A very good movie. A very good movie. It had noticeable problems, though. But I could forgive all the problems, because it had a few minor ones. A couple of them were noticeable, but it was a good movie nonetheless. Why is number 1? It's a Star Wars movie we've been waiting for near a decade now. Ever since not even past the prequels. If we go past the prequels, over a decade. We go from the prequels, about a decade now. But you look at where we left off on our Star Wars franchise, and we left off on a series that universally is not very well liked. There are people who like the prequels, I understand that, and I like parts of the prequels, but I understand that they're not magnificent movies. I don't recognize them as good movies normally. The original trilogy is what most people think as Star Wars, and this is a movie that when we see the trailers, we're like, oh my god, this looks like Star Wars. This is a movie that broke the internet for a little while. This is a movie that is breaking records left and right. In only 13 days, not even 2 weeks, it is now the 8th highest, not adjusted for inflation, because I hate the whole adjusted for inflation argument. I hate that argument. That's a stupid argument. Now, in terms of box office growth, it currently ranks 8 worldwide and number 3 in the domestic. It will surpass the number 4 domestic. It will surpass number 2 and 3 spots this weekend. In fact, by the end of the day, it will surpass those spots. And it's probably going to end up being the highest domestic box office ever. Because it's only like, I think, 100 million away from surpassing Avatar. But we look at this, and it's Star Wars. It is the Star Wars that we've come to know and love. It's Han Solo, it's Chewbacca, it's Leia, it's C-3PO, it's R2, it's Luke, it's all of this. But it's not a retelling of any story. It's a continuation of a story. It's very much it is in the plot structure of A New Hope. I've heard that, and I recognize that. But when you, just to plug someone, watch the Nostalgia Critics review of The Force Awakens with CinemaStop, Brad Jones. It's the show, you know why it is like A New Hope? Because they wanted to prove to us that they still knew how to do Star Wars. And what better way than to repeat some of the things that we knew and recognized from original Star Wars that we loved? Why not do that? There's nothing wrong with that. Now that they've proven that they can still do Star Wars, they can move ahead with actual new ideas that they don't have to recognize that they don't have to repeat necessarily. Now, granted, there'll still be things repeated, obviously. I do believe Episode 8 will be the darker of two of the Empire Strikes Back, if you will. But if you actually look at the way they're set up, you are not repeating similar plot points almost at all from that movie. There's going to be some strictly different things going on in that movie. But then you look at why I consider it the best film of the year, because first off, it's nostalgia, it's childhood, it's things we all grew up and loved. But it's an event. It is truly an experience. None of these other movies, save for maybe, let's see here, that I have on my list. Maybe The Martian. That's about it. Maybe The Martian you can say is experience. But only really on, like, say, IMAX or XD. Other than that, though, it's just a good movie that we're all really enjoying. Star Wars, man. Packed theater opening night. Opening pre-night. And everyone is just like, yes! Star Wars! Yeah! When things appear, like when the Falcon appears, you're like, oh my god, the Falcon! Yeah! When Han Solo and Chewie show up for the first time, you're like, yeah! It's something that takes you home. It's Chewie, we're home. It's something that makes you feel love. You feel love again for Star Wars. You feel like, yes, they're not pandering to us. They're not doing it. They are giving us what we want and what we feel we deserve as a moviegoer. Now, again, tit for tat, not everyone liked The Force Awakens. But you know what? It's fine. You don't have to. But you got to recognize they tried, and it's more than likely, and it is better than the prequels. I have yet to hear anyone argue it's worse than the prequels. And you know what the beauty of, not the beauty, but you know what the real brilliance of this movie is? Not only did it rev us to the old cast and utilize them, for the most part, fairly well. Han Solo, I mean, I don't think Harrison Ford's actually ever been better as Han Solo. But it gave us 1, 2, 3, 4 minimum new characters that we grew to know and like. Not one of these new characters, save for maybe Hux. I can't say I even hated Hux. He's just maybe my least favorite character. There was some underused character like Phasma. We didn't get to see enough of Phasma, but we're told we'll get to see a lot more of her in the next one, which is damn good because Gwendolyn Christie was underused. But and Snoke, we'll see more of Snoke, absolutely. But Poe, we dug Poe immediately after we see Poe. Rey? Well, Rey is what a lot of people call her a Mary Sue character. Give me that, and I don't know who's calling at the moment. 1 second, I'm just gonna check my ID on that. Yeah, don't have to worry about that. Sorry about that. But Rey, people call her a Mary Sue character. Wait till the trilogy's over to call her a Mary Sue character. Understand the term Mary Sue. Everything comes easy. She's like God-given, blessed, and all that stuff. Let's be clear, she's not a Mary Sue. She actually gets her ass kind of kicked a couple times. She just, in the end, comes out on top. So, there's a slight difference there. Finn was likable, charismatic, and eventually was heroic. He wanted to run, but he eventually overcame his cowardness and stood up against the evil. Kylo Ren was a unique, interesting bad guy. Now, granted, he's kind of like Anakin 2.0, but that's a good thing. He's kind of what we kind of wanted. He's what we wanted Anakin to kind of be, I think, in the prequels. He's whiny, but in an effective way. At least I think so. Yeah, a lot of people kind of complain about how whiny he is. It makes sense for his character why he's whiny. It does. And he's actually more whiny and angsty. You actually see the fact he's torn, as opposed with Anakin, who is just kind of emo and angsty and annoying. BB-8 was everything we wanted BB-8 to be. He was adorable. The action sequences are amazing and gorgeous. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 effects that I thought were weird. The dialogue, it's a funny movie. It is. It's everything we wanted Star Wars to be. It's so good to be back home with Star Wars again. So, overall, that's my thoughts for Star Wars The Force Awakens, #1 in my book for the year. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put it in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Next week is The Revenant. We'll see how that goes. I've been hearing people have actually mixed viewpoints on that, but we'll see how that goes. It looks good. I think it looks good, so we'll see how it goes. I don't have anything else planned this week, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and a Happy New Year.